Hey everyone, this is Chris, and welcome to this new episode of Intuitive Healing and Guidance. This is episode 2, and today we're talking about how to navigate through fear and challenge. So I'm excited to share some things on this, and I'm just going to dive into five ways we can navigate through fear and challenge. So first up, and if you listen to episode 1, this might ring a bell, but it's worth emphasizing again, I feel. So number 1 for today in how to navigate through fear and challenge is don't give up. And I know we hear that all the time, but I guess I want to give you my spin on it. In my experience, and maybe some of you can relate to this, often things are, in the heat of the moment, things can seem much worse than they are. So that's one thing. Another aspect of this concept of don't give up is things can change quickly as well. That's another thing I've noticed in my experience. Things can seem like the end of the world, and then the next day or even later that day, we can be in a completely different place, and we may not see that. Sometimes the light at the end of the tunnel is just sort of very dim, and we don't know how far away it is, and we don't know how to get towards it. But it's amazing how sometimes it can just brighten up, and we can find ourselves much closer to it than we realized. So really important not to give up. And I think this time of year, in particular, it brings up a lot of expectations. December, leading up to Christmas, leading up to New Year's. Do I have a plan? Who am I going to spend Christmas with? How's that gonna go? And how should I feel at this time of year? Which is always a dangerous question to ask. How should I feel rather than how do I feel is generally a better question. But we fall into these traps of thinking things need to be a certain way. And I think also just collectively there's a lot of energy moving around, and people are trying to finish things off for the year, or people are just trying to get to a certain place with things, or people are scrambling to maybe be in a certain place, or I think there's a pressure that can come with getting to the end of the year, and just being aware that this may be something that we experience to some degree, and it's very important to be kind with ourselves at this time of year. All the time, of course, but just give ourselves special consideration around this time of year. Because it can be a really joyous time. It can also be difficult depending on, what's happening for you, and everyone's got a different sort of circumstance and story, and in a different place in their life. So just being aware of that. Don't give up is just it's so important, because things can change. We don't know exactly what's around the corner. Even if things don't feel that great right now, they can change, and often they do. And sometimes we have to hang in there. So that's the first thing, is just know that, you are worth sticking around. That's always the best alternative. That's always the best choice, option, whatever you want to call it. So moving on, number 2 is we want to connect to our resources. We want to connect to our supports. And sometimes that means swallowing a bit of pride. And we want to do this both within ourselves, the resources and supports we have within ourselves, but also reaching out. And that can be where we sometimes need to swallow some pride, and just, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. And it's really important, actually, because we all need to at times. And I know sometimes it can be a challenge to just admit that to ourselves and then to admit it to others. But it can make such a difference when we can just allow ourselves to have the support that we need, and particularly, being aware of what support do I have in myself at the moment, and also how can maybe I expand on that, or how can I connect with that and with support of others too, because we don't have to wait until we're absolutely, at the 11th hour before we reach out. Maybe things are just starting to get a little bit heavier, or we're getting a bit unsure about something, that, it's better to be on the front foot and just get onto things. Don't wait too long. Don't second guess. Just go for it. And I think it's a muscle that we need to exercise and practice. Just the art of letting ourselves ask for help, letting ourselves be vulnerable, and be open. And of course, we all have our own way of doing that, and honor what your way is, and just open up at the pace that is right for you in the particular moment, and move in the direction that is right for you. But definitely, don't be afraid to ask for help, because it can also be an opportunity for someone else to give help, and that can be an empowering thing for them too. So it can be potentially an empowering thing for both people. So it's all about, who can I meet at the moment? Can we meet each other, in our needs, and what is going to be helpful for both of us? And don't give up on that either. Maybe you might have to call 6 people, and then or maybe 7 people, and then the 7th person answers, or the 3rd person you call will call you back, or you may have to do something a bit different. Maybe you reach out to an organization or a therapist, or maybe you take some new step that you've been thinking about, and you're like, I don't know if I should do that. And there's that word again, should, and that's really something our mind really throws at us many times, is that word should. I don't know if I should, or should I do this? And it's a protective mechanism, and it's just a self-doubt. And if you're feeling a calling, or you're feeling a curiosity, and it seems like it's a step that you want to take, and you want to, without overthinking, it just feels right, just go for it. So that, connecting to resources, connecting to supports, and of course, we have resources, through connecting with other people, and also, as I mentioned, through connecting with ourselves. Sometimes it could be giving time to yourself, and allowing yourself to recharge. Maybe you're overwhelmed and you just need a quiet place to think, or maybe you need an environment where you can relax, and maybe you need to go down to the beach and just hear your thoughts, connect with the water at the beach, connect with nature. Nature is actually a great place. And that actually leads me to my next topic, or my next point for this topic, I should say, which is, if possible, find a place or an environment where you can really listen to what's going on. Now, this might be something that you do solo. You just jump in your car, you drive down to the beach, or drive to the park, or you connect with nature. Again, I'll emphasize nature is wonderful in terms of just coming into a place where you can start to come into your essence, or hear your thoughts. And sometimes there's places in nature where you get that peace and quiet, and that stillness, and that nurturing that comes from being close to nature. So yeah, consider that as an option. Or maybe you need, maybe you feel comfortable going. You go around to a friend's place and you sit on the couch and have a coffee and maybe that's a really supportive environment, and then you start to be able to see, what your truth is. You start to be able to sort of hear your thoughts and reflect them with a friend. And so whatever environment is right for you, just trust that calling and trust that impulse and really prioritize it. So that it's really important to prioritize being in an environment, being in a space where you can really hear, what's going on, or you can connect with someone that can help you really have that clarity or come into that clarity. So, moving forward, the next point is to embrace your truth and your priorities. And I'm also going to say, listen to others, but to really help yourself, don't override what you're hearing in yourself. So, in other words, sometimes friends have the best intentions and they will offer some great things to consider, but it may not be the right thing for you right now. So it's really important that you listen to what is right for you. And sometimes we have friends that are very good at reinforcing what we're expressing or what we're needing to reinforce that we're expressing, and we have friends that are good at sort of challenging our way of seeing things, and I think we need both those kinds of friends, and the key is just to be able to stay with what is true for you, and when you're listening to a friend's response, like you might share something to a friend, and when you're listening to their response, just notice, how does it feel in my body? Does it feel like the way they're seeing things? Is that the way I want to go? Or do I want to go a different way? And sometimes we need people to challenge and give some other alternative idea, even if it's not what we're feeling and thinking. It provides an opportunity for us to go, to actually become even stronger in our resolve in terms of what is right for us. So sometimes we say, I hear you, I appreciate your suggestion, and I'm actually seeing that, I'm actually feeling like, I've got to do this, I've got to do it this way though, but I do appreciate your suggestion. So yeah, sometimes we need friends to challenge us because we grow stronger in being able to, our beliefs and our decisions, if we've always got people agreeing with us all the time and we're just surrounded with those people, we're not really growing in the strength of our decision making. Whereas if we've got people that see it a different way, we need to grow in our strength to really really show up and show our way of doing things and say, look, I value your way and this is my way. And that is there can be a lot of growth in that. So, and there can be a strengthening in really knowing who we are. So yeah, it's important to be aware that it's okay to have friends in both those areas, because there's value in both of those dynamics. So yeah, consider that, and yeah, so really embracing your truth and your priorities, that's really important. Yeah, it really is about checking in with, like, what is my body saying, or what is my spirit, what is my soul, my spirit, what is it really what direction is it, wanting me to head in, and where does my body want to take me, those sorts of questions, and yeah, and maybe also, if we are talking with a friend, do I feel clear enough that I can say this to my friend? This is what I need to do, and that can be a good thing when we can just really assert our truth. That can really empower us to really keep going with it, to really keep trusting it. So so really, in times of challenge and fear, really just listen to those threads within the way, what's happening in our body, what's happening in our spirit, where are we being called? Really important. And then that will, help us move forward, will help us see a way to go, see a way forward. So moving on. So the fifth point is, you may be in a situation or at a stage in life that calls for courage, maybe quite a bit of courage sometimes, or maybe, maybe just a regular amount of courage, or maybe a lot of courage. I'm sure we can relate if we all reflect. There are times when we've had to call upon quite a bit of courage in our life, or other times when, we just need a bit, but we just need to trust ourselves enough just to give ourselves permission to really take that step. And really come from a place of love and the highest self, and really listening, like, what is my highest self wanting to say to me? What is love wanting to say to me? And what is courage wanting to say to me, See how you go with those questions. Sometimes courage can look like it's opening up gifts that are there, but we don't open them up that often, or as much as we could. And maybe we haven't opened them up for a long time, or maybe we're just sort of rediscovering them or becoming more aware of them. And there's sort of this tentativeness, like, is this really what I want to do? Because I don't normally do this. But it could still very well be the right thing. It just takes that courageous step to believe that, yes, even though this is perhaps a new experience, or there's an unfamiliarity about it, it may still be the best. It may very well be the best step we can take, and it may very well be, a gift that we can come into. It just sometimes, we just need to trust that, the universe does have our back. And when we're really tuning into what is love and what is highest self, what's coming through for me, asking ourselves these questions, they can help us step into our gifts and our strength and our power, and that can really, champion us. It can really inspire us to, really lift our spirits. Sometimes it's just taking that first step, and then once we're on our way, we go, I can feel this is right, and I'm starting to feel better, and I feel like I am on the right track, and I will keep going. And so sometimes it's just overcoming that initial resistance, and then we start to sort of build momentum in the right direction. So that is the 5 offerings for today, just on how to navigate through fear and courage. And as you may have guessed, I do have one more, which it's last but not least. I've got a bonus, number 6, and as I mentioned, last but not least, it's really important to remember to breathe. And really important. And I know this has helped me so much, is just, and I would also include breathe, movement, and sound. And these are the pillars of tantric work, which is really about, being our authentic self and being in our authenticity and being in the fullness of who we are. And breathing, movement, and sound can really bring us into who we really are and bring us into the present moment. And they can bring us into our awareness of, like, what is going on with me. And it can help us get out of the the mind being on the hamster wheel, where it's frantic and it's really trying to think our way through everything. It can help us release ourselves from that, or at least relax that part of ourselves a bit, and we drop into something a little bit deeper, or a little bit stiller, or a little bit more clear. So really important, breathe. And there are lots of different breath work exercises and breathing exercises, and I know that I'm hearing more and more about breath work, from friends and just people I know, and just mentioning how valuable and beneficial it can be. So yeah, definitely don't underestimate the power of just breathing and breath work. And yeah, as I'm talking about it, I'm sort of noticing where my breathing's at, and just, I know over the last few days for me, actually, I've gone through different emotions, and there's been moments where my breathing has become more shallow, and I've been moving through something intense, and then wanting to become aware of that again, and see if I can drop down into my belly a bit deeper, and just maybe move my belly a bit more. And but also from a place of, not from a place of I need to force anything, but just curiosity. Curiosity is a way to go. But definitely breathing can be a great way to just really center ourselves a bit. And I also mentioned moving and sound. So a great exercise you can do is just shake our body, and we can do it, fairly fast, or fairly intensely, or more gently, gentle motion. But it's just about moving the body and allowing the energy to flow, and allowing our awareness to come down into the body. And it's amazing how that can help us get clarity on where we're at, and maybe what our priorities are, and it can connect us to something that is even sort of a deeper intelligence than just our analytical mind. So yeah, just trusting trusting that this could be a really good way to, even pausing for 5-10 minutes and just doing this breathing and this moving, and also with sound. Sometimes we need a space where we can just release sound, and I find this super helpful, and maybe I'll get into this more in a future episode as well. But just using our voice in a way that doesn't always have to make sense. For example, sometimes we just need to sigh, and we're just letting out some sound, and sometimes we can just let go of things just by letting sound go, letting sound come out. So anyway, that's about it for today. And just on that last point with movement, breathing, sound, just it may be something you're already sort of experimenting or exploring with, and practicing regularly, or it may be something that you're like, oh, that's interesting, and maybe you're just curious about it. And yeah, come from that place of curiosity, and it's more about just exploring, and not needing for things to go a certain way. It's more about listening again, coming back to that word of listening. And it can be about just having a space to express using our body, using our using some sound, and also coming into our breathing and just allowing our breathing to, it really connects us into our life force and our presence. And breathing is incredibly important and powerful. And so see where your breathing wants to go. So that's about it for today. Really good to share this with all of you. And I hope you're looking after yourself during this time, and I hope you're on track for an exciting holiday season. And take care of yourself, take care of each other, and look forward to seeing you again on another episode, and we'll catch you soon.